Before the first frost settled over the monastery grounds, before the birch trees shed their last copper leaves, the monks were already at work. There was no fanfare, no urgency in the modern sense, just the quiet, methodical rhythm of hands pressing salted cabbage into oak barrels, the sharp, clean smell of brine cutting through the cold autumn air. These men understood something that most of us have forgotten entirely. Winter does not negotiate. You either prepare or you perish. And for centuries, Russian Orthodox monks mastered a form of biological alchemy, transforming raw, perishable harvests into living, nutrient-dense stores of food that would carry them through months of bitter cold, near-total darkness, and rigorous fasting. The art of the barrel, lacto-fermentation as a survival science. At the heart of the monastic winter strategy was a process they didn't have a scientific name for, but understood intuitively through generations of practice: lacto-fermentation. When cabbage was shredded and packed tightly with salt into wooden barrels, the naturally occurring bacteria on its surface began converting sugars into lactic acid. That acid became a preservative shield, keeping the food alive in the best sense, and dead to harmful bacteria in every sense that mattered. The result was kvashenaya kapusta, fermented cabbage, dense with vitamin C at a time of year when fresh produce was an impossible luxury. In the monasteries of northern Russia, where winters could stretch 6 months or longer, a barrel of this sour, tangy cabbage wasn't just food, it was medicine, it was insurance, it was survival compressed into a wooden vessel. Kvass, beets and the living pantry, the monks didn't stop at cabbage. Their cellars were essentially living pantries, cool, dark and humming with quiet biological activity. Turnips, carrots and beets were submerged in salt water brine, slowly transforming through the same lacto-fermentation process into preserved, probiotic-rich staples that could last well into February or March. Beet kvass, a deep, crimson, earthy, fermented tonic, was consumed daily, valued for its energizing properties and its ability to support digestion during periods of near-exclusive plant-based eating. Rye bread kvass, low in alcohol and rich in gut-friendly cultures, replaced water as the drink of choice. In an era before water treatment, a fermented beverage was simply safer. Every sip delivered calories, hydration, and beneficial microorganisms that kept the digestive system functioning under the physical stress of cold and caloric restriction. Mushrooms, fat, and the fasting table. The Orthodox fasting calendar demanded abstinence from meat and dairy for potentially over 100 days each year, which meant the monks needed alternative protein sources of real substance. Forest mushrooms, porcini, chanterelles, milkcaps, were harvested in the autumn and preserved through salting and fermentation in barrels, becoming, a cornerstone of the Lenten table. Rehydrated in winter soups, they delivered an earthy, deeply savory richness that made the monastic diet feel nourishing rather than punishing. When dairy was permitted, smetana, that thick, fermented, soured cream, was stirred into shchi, the beloved cabbage soup that appeared on the table day after day, its warmth and fat content providing critical calories against those subzero temperatures. These weren't delicacies. They were engineered sustenance, built from the land and preserved by science the monks simply called faith and practice. What this means for you. Here is the lesson that travels across centuries directly into your hands. The monks didn't survive Russian winters because they were exceptional. They survived because they were prepared, systematically, seasonally, and without the option of failure. Every barrel they packed in October was a decision made against March hunger. Every fermented beet, every salted mushroom, every jar of soured cream was a deliberate act of self-reliance, rooted in deep knowledge of their environment and its rhythms. For the modern bushcrafter or preparedness-minded individual, lacto-fermentation remains one of the most accessible, low-cost, and genuinely powerful preservation techniques available, requiring nothing more than salt, water, a vessel, and time. The knowledge hasn't expired. Only our memory of it has. If this episode has sparked something in you, that pull toward self-reliance, toward learning what your hands are truly capable of, then you're exactly who Fieldcraft Chronicles was built for. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode, and share this video with someone in your life who values history, preparedness, and the kind of knowledge that actually matters when the world gets hard. The monks knew something we need to remember. Let's remember it together.